I picked up a couple of PowerPC based boards from the salvage yard this morning. They caught my attention because I don't have any PowerPC board at first, and they also have a ton of PC-like interfaces like IDE, USB VGA, and serial Ethernet as well. This one, apart from that, has 5 SATA ports. They have a ton of signal processing stuff in them, which looks like analog video processing technology. We're gonna take a look at them closer in a moment. This one generates some video on the VGA port. This one does not generate any video on the VGA port, but I've noticed on the oscilloscope that it generates some traffic on the serial port at what looks like to be 9600 baud, so we're gonna take a closer look at them in a moment. But first, let's take a closer look at this PowerPC system on a chip that they both have. So this system on a chip, it's a 32-bit PowerPC core. It runs at 333 MHz. It's got an SD-RAM interface, PCI, 2 Ethernet ports running over a media independent interface, MII. Each one of them has a PHY and a jack here, and the other Ethernet is unpopulated. But apart from that, there are 2 TMS 3200. Alright, so I've got one of those connected. On the side we've got a regular ATX power supply, which is connected under the to the power strip under the table. So as soon as I flip the switch, it's gonna boot up. On the other side is connected over serial to my trusty VT320. So let's take a quick look at what's happening on the serial console. We've got some blinking lights. Looks like some sort of a Linux system booting. It's setting up TCP, some I2C driver. Okay, the kernel has started. We've got the freeing unused kernel memory message here. Suddenly we got what seems to be the init script. And we're gonna wait a second, let it boot up, and then you're gonna see the best part of this video. All threads created. Okay, this looks like it now. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a root shell on the serial port. Hey. Alright, I think let's see what's inside this thingy. Let's first list S pin. I've got typical stuff. Maybe bin. Just a busy box system. We've got some stuff that's typical, but there is this program, Detect Decoder. Actually, this is the Ash shell, and it actually supports tab complete, which is pretty nice. Detect Decoder does this. It's pretty much all the stuff that's been found. What else? Uname maybe. It's running Linux 2.6, which seems to be the most common version of Linux out there. CPU info doesn't tell us much. Maybe CPU info is not really not developed enough on this particular PowerPC implementation. We've got an unknown CPU with a 200 MHz clock. Machine Intel X IDVR16. I have no idea what that means, and we've got a 33 MHz PCI bus clock. However, we've got some interesting stuff in dev, which I suppose does the entries in the device file system. We've got the tons of DSP-COM devices, which seem to correspond to those two TMS 320s from TI digital media processors. Mount, maybe let's see mount first. So we've got dev root on slash type YAFS. YAFS is it stands for yet another flash file system, and we've got a prots file system on slash prots. So I think I'm gonna shut it off now, connect a hard disk or a USB disk, and maybe try to dump some of the memory onto the hard disk for further analysis. So I was wondering why is USB broken on this thing, and because I tried to connect a pen drive to dump some of the flash partitions, and the simple answer is there is no voltage on the USB port, and there should be 5 volts. Right, so I think that if I run a jumper wire from some point where there is 5 volts to those 2 pins on the USB header, I should be able to use any USB drive to actually access the files on this thing. So let's maybe try this Max202. We've got, yes, it's the power input pin of this Max202, so there's 5 volts here. I'm just gonna quickly run a jumper. Got 1 beep that suggests successful boot, and let's check the voltage on here. Yes, we've got 5 volts. Right, time to connect the console back. Let's plug this in quickly. Alright. Actually, yeah, there's initializing USB mass storage driver up here, so I'm gonna actually unfreeze the console, let it do its thing, and try to connect a USB drive head here. And so we've got the root shell. Now the moment of truth. So not getting anything. That's interesting. Maybe the USB data lines aren't connected either. So I found a couple of other interesting things while browsing, trying to find out why I want the USB work. So first of all, it has a 59 megabyte file system. Also, there are couple of current modules it's using. I don't see anything related to USB here. It's not my strong side, but I can see there is an IDE mod, which I'm not sure why it does not detect the IDE disks that I've been connecting to it properly. However, I will try to check whether the USB data lanes are actually connected, because I'm getting some weird voltages on those as well. So it might be that they are just not connected as well.